Hey guys, this is Connie from The Painted Photographer. I'm here to have a collaboration with DIY Debbie's Design Diary Paint. And there are many creatives here that are using the sample jars of paint and showing you what you can create with that small amount of paint. So much. You would not even think that that was a little 4-ounce jar of paint because it goes so far. Come watch me as I show you what I create, and make sure you check out the playlist. I'll see you at the end.
Debbie's first creation was creating this mixology kit, and this was a box full of these little 2-ounce sample jars of DIY paint. I still have a few of these available on my website on sale if you would like to purchase at thepaintedphotographer.com. Now, Debbie has come up with buying individual 2-ounce jars of paint. We're going to do a video showing how far this paint can actually go, and we're going to paint some smalls that are from thrift stores. This was a book that I got from a thrift store, very inexpensive. The inside is good. I love the cover, and it's time to start creating fall. So we're using Queen Bee, which is one of the colors you can get in these sample jars. You cannot get all the colors in the sample jars, but you can get all the favorites. Queen Bee is definitely one of mine. It is such a pretty yellow, and I make sure that I use up all the paint out of that lid first so that it doesn't dry up. I am using every single stitch of paint that I can get when I have DIY paint. For my next book, I'm going to mix the Apothecary and the Queen Bee together. I love mixing the DIY paints together to make my own custom colors. The paint mixes so well together. And I think that's why Debbie called it her mixology kit, which is available on my website because they just mix beautiful. Look at that green color. I love it. And it's going to be perfect for one of the books that I thrifted. I'm going to paint this cover in that green, and then the black that is on the book already is perfect for when I'm going to distress it and have some of that cover come popping through. Here is another thrifted book. This one had a teal cover. It was a library book at one time. I am using Petticoat Pink, another favorite of mine, and I'm going to paint this teal looking covered book in the pink. And again, when I distress this back, you're going to see that teal come popping through. I do choose my colors for painting books based on the color of the cover. Like I said, we're going to just distress some of the edges on these books. DIY paint reactivates with water before it is sealed. I am taking a baby wipe and just wiping off the edges, and the black of that book is going to start coming through. Actually, this one was brown, so the brown of the book is going to start coming through, and then the green one is going to have a little bit of the black coming through, and so on. The teal is going to come through on the pink. Like I said, we have Christmas to get ready for. This is an old Christmas pack from last year. I only have this many pieces left over from this transfer set. I can use them on these books. I can figure out a way to make them look good on these books and use up some of these scraps. I am going to take the trees from this pack and I'm going to cut these two individual ones off, and then I'm going to add on that trio of trees onto this book. I'm going to wrap it around the spine so that it's one of those trees is right on the spine of the book. So to do that, you take off that backing, you place them where you want them, and then you take that transfer stick and you rub that transfer. I did not seal this paint. So you can add a transfer to the non-sealed DIY paint. Just make sure that it's dry. Just make sure that your paint is really dry and it will transfer just fine. You can save that step of sealing the paint in if you just make sure that it's dry. I wanted some of the holly to go on the spine as well, so I just stopped transferring when I got to that edge. I'm going to save this for a bit. Then I took that garland and holly berries and I put it right onto the spine of the book, and then I added the tree back over the top.
You look at me and I get pretty. Then you want me. I'll be picture perfect and make you happy. I'll be dancing, center of attention. Vision of the woman that you wanted me to be when I get pretty. When I
With the IOD transfers, you can layer them however you want. You can make your own designs. We're using this little house that I had left over. We're going to put that right there and transfer that on. And then we're going to add one of the other trees and a few holly berries on top. And this Christmas book is going to look perfect sitting on a shelf, either with the spine showing or the entire cover showing.
When I get pretty, then you want me. I'll be picture perfect to make you happy. I'll be dancing, center of attention. A vision of the woman that you wanted me to be. When I get pretty, then you want me. I'll be picture perfect to make you happy. And I'll be dancing, center of attention. Vision of the woman.
I will add transfers to all the other books with some of the scraps that I have had. I'm using Christmas, I'm using fall, and then I did do one in a summer look.
You know I want you close, maybe hold your hand a little while. Somehow I know you're gonna be the girl that I'll end up calling my own. We ride around in style, sleeves rolled up, glasses on. And then you make that smile and my heart starts racing when I'm with you. You, when I'm with you. Can't get enough of this, being with you is like never-ending sunshine. Feels like everything stops for a while when we look into each other.
These transfers are available on my website except for the Christmas ones. They are retired, but don't worry, new ones will be coming soon. So you just take Big Top and seal all of the paint in and the transfer. Look at this sunflower book. It is so pretty. I do have this transfer available. It is called Painterly Florals on my website at thepaintedphotographer.com. After you seal that book in, it's going to brighten those colors, and there's nothing more satisfying than adding a big top to DIY paint.
You got your high heels on, and I'm wearing my worn out jeans. What could go wrong? Sipping on a beer, sing along to our favorite songs. All I want is you. You make my world spin like
I add a little bit of clear wax to the top just to make sure that it's sealed. And then I add the dark wax to the edges. The big top and the small amount of clear wax is going to make sure that I had full coverage and that dark wax doesn't stick in and not be movable. So this book has now got a little bit of age to it, and I absolutely love it. I did want the pages to age up a bit, so I did take the dark wax and I aged up the pages. You just let me know which one of these books is your favorite. I'm not sure that I can choose. I need your help.
can't get enough of this. Being with you is like never ending sunshine. Feels like everything stops for a while when we look into each other's eyes. How could I ever let you go now when you're looking like that? Can't get enough of this. Being with you is a never ending sunshine. A never ending sunshine. You know I want you close. Maybe hold your hand a little while. Somehow I know you're gonna be the girl that I'll end up calling my own. Can't get enough of this. Being with you is like never ending sunshine. Feels like everything stops for a while when we look into each other's eyes. How could I ever let you go now when you're looking like that? Can't get enough of this. Being with you is a never ending sunshine. Never ending sunshine.
Another easy to thrift project is jars, or you can just use them out of your recycling. They do have Salvation Solution back in stock. It's now in a plastic jar, which is just makes me so excited. It is available on my website. I put the Salvation Solution onto the jars first to give it a little bit of tooth. And once you use the Salvation Solution on jars, the paint will not scrape off. It is on there hard. I want you to try it, and you'll never go back to painting at clear jars without Salvation Solution. I put on all four of the colors in these 2-ounce samples. I painted so many jars and I still have tons of paint left over. So, this is another project that you can use a small amount of paint and get a very big impact.
You are the one that I will call when I'm drunk. You are the one that I just need to feel loving. You saved me from the broken house that I built. You took me in with open arms and I still want you back, want you back, back. Some say that love don't hurt, but I've got you stuck in my memory. Some say that hearts come first, but they've never known what it's like to be in love at 20 years old.
To seal the jars, I did actually 2 or 3 coats of the paint on these jars, and then I sealed them in with DIY's Big Top to make sure that they could withstand a little bit of water. You can't actually wash these in a dishwasher, but you can wash them out in your sink and not have to worry about that paint coming off as long as you give it 2 coats of Big Top. Some of these I did put transfers on them, so I left the Big Top dry and then I put the transfer on and then I added another coat of Big Top, which is also a nice sealer for them. After everything was completed and dried, I went in with the DIY dark wax just to give them a little bit of dimension. So when you're using dark wax, you wipe it off, but it stays in the crevices and it just gives you some depth to whatever you're painting. And these jars from the trash have really taken on a beautiful look to them. Here are the ones added the transfers to them. They're all sealed in with the Big Top. I went over everything with the DIY dark wax and that sealed everything in and gave them a little bit of dimension.
It's 2 a.m. and I can't sleep without you. And every wall is getting close, and I don't know what to do. Can't you save my soul? Can't you save my soul? Can't you mend my heart? Can't you mend my heart? I want you back, back, want you back, back, back. Yeah, I want you back, back, want you back.
I thought I'd take you on a little walk to my garden shed where I am going to go pick some flowers that I'm going to put into these cute little vases. I have plenty of flowers in my yard to fill hundreds of jars. And this is only one of the 5 flower beds that I have. Yes, I have 5 that are at least this size, if not bigger. And we're going to walk down this path that happens to be overgrown. And here are some coneflowers, some bee balm, some party girl mallow. It's just filled with flowers that you can put into these jars. I will show you some of the other spaces that I have. When you walk out my front door, this is my hydrangea bush that is only 2 years old. It is overgrown. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And then this used to be a path where you could walk down the center. There are bricks in the center of that path where you can walk down. I have no idea where the bricks are now. They are overgrown with flowers. So, can you see? I have plenty of flowers to put in jars.
This is the call that you've been. This is the call that you've been waiting for. This is the call that you've been.
Another inexpensive item you can find at the thrift stores is old signs. These already have the hanging system on them, or you can use new wood or scraps of wood. I painted this sign in white paint from the sample jar. This one is White Swan. And I painted the entire sign in this White Swan. I did have to give it 2 coats just to make sure that it was good coverage on the outside, but on that inside panel, I did go in with some Bohemian blue and did the inside of that panel. I taped it off with painter's tape so that the outside would stay nice and white.
Got you stuck in my memory. Some say that hearts come first, but they've never known what it's like to be in love and 20 years old. We kiss in the rain till we catch a.
After that Bohemian blue was dry, I took my stencil from Snowballs for sale. These stencils I'm using today are available on the Stencil Smith. You can check out my description below, and I will give you an affiliate link for a percentage off your order if you would like to order any of the stencils from the Stencil Smith. That company is so wonderful. I have been working with April and she has been so fabulous. I cannot thank her enough. A couple of these stencils you'll see were ideas that I had for her, and she designed the stencils around my ideas. I can't wait for you to see them. The trick to stenciling is using a good stencil brush, and then it's also using a very small amount of paint. I picked up the side of the stencil because it doesn't look like it's got very good coverage. And it does have good coverage, but I just want it a little bit whiter. So I laid my stencil back down and I went back over it a second time. Using a small amount of paint and being patient and going over it a second time is what's going to make your stencil not bleed underneath. You do not want that bleeding, especially on signs that have wording on them. And this going a small amount of paint at a time and making sure that you take your time and use the stencil properly. And now look at that. It's just a perfect image. I do not like the lines that a stencil leaves, so I come back in with a small artist brush. And I also got these brushes from the Stencil Smith. They do sell stencil brushes, which are amazing. And then they sell artist brushes for making sure that you can fill in those lines. Now, doesn't that look wonderful? And then I just watered down some of the white swan paint and splattered it using that other end of a paintbrush, and that just tapped on the paintbrush and it just left that small snow scatter spots.
I need a top shelf drink to set me straight and a little bit of honey to make this go away. Don't even chew her prey, just swallow me whole. It's just a little bit of heartache, but that's just how it goes. It's just a scratch, a little water in the tank like a flat. Oh, tired that you changed, just a bad dream, but I gotta wake up, let it go. Morning, keep on coming, I can use a blackout. Give me something to drink, 'cause I don't wanna think.
When I'm doing stencil signs, I do like to sand them a bit just to take down those harsh edges. And you can see that the snowballs word is just got a little bit of distress in it. And then the outside of the sign does as well. You want to make sure that you wipe it off and so that you don't have any of those paint pigments to drag through when you add your big top. We're going to add big top to this entire sign. Look at that bohemian blue really come to life. Nothing is better than using a big top on DIY paint.
Told me to leave, but goddammit, I see her point. It's time to go home, I know. But when I close my eyes, I can bet my money it's her I'm gonna see, and it ain't that funny. It's like just dipped in sugar, sweeter than pie. Until a little time flies, you see what's on the inside. Man, you're gonna feel like you wanna cry. She's a bad
I will show you the finished stencil signs at the end. We're going to paint this other thrifted sign that was painted all white, and obviously somebody was going to do something with it, but they never did. So I am painting the queen bee in the center of this gallery sign, and we're going to add one of the stencils that April did for me from the Stencil Smith. I told her I wanted a vintage cat. So she came through with the most amazing vintage cat for Halloween, and I can't wait for you to see it. Just watch the process and see how this cat comes to life. If you would like any of these stencils, don't forget there's an affiliate link in the description below where you can save a percent from your order.
keep on coming, I can use a blackout. Give me something to drink, 'cause change, it's a bump on the road you're traveling on. It's just a scratch, a little water in the tire like a flat. Hold tight at the change, it's a bump on the road you're traveling on. Molly, keep 'em coming, I can use a blackout. Give me something to drink.
This stencil is a three-part stencil. So after that black has dried, you come back in with the first stencil, actually the second stencil with your different colors. And then when that has dried, you come in with the third stencil and you do those areas. And look at that. Isn't that just amazing? I did distress it just a little bit to break down those sharp edges. And then I put a coat of Big Top on this sign to brighten that up. It is so cute. I can't wait to get this one into the shop. And remember, if you do like this stencil as well, you can check it out at the Stencil Smith using the description below.
My confidence in talking to a stranger. She told me to leave, and goddammit, I see her point. It's time to go home, I know. So you can keep your change, just get that pity. She wore me down, and it ain't too pretty. When I close my eyes and I bet more money, it's her I'm gonna see, and it ain't that funny.
After the big top was dry, I did use a little bit of the clear wax on the inside of this frame to just add, because I wanted to add the warm dust. And you need just a little bit of wax to make that warm dust stick. So here it is. Isn't she just cute? So I have a little bit of wax inside the corners, and I'm going to use the DIY Warm Dust, which is my favorite product. It gives it kind of a warm, rusty type look, and you can just smear that dust into the wax, and it'll melt into the wax, and then let that dry and then wipe off the excess. And this is just so cute. I love it. I hope you do too. This is another one of April's stencils. This was actually one of the ones that got me started with the Stencil Smith. I did like this chicken sitting on some Pyrex bowls, and I do like the process of the multiple stencils. And April is just such a whiz at making stencils and just making them into art. And it's not just a stencil, it is, after you do the whole thing, it becomes art.
We went head first into the fire. Watch the flames rise higher, love. We were burning so damn bright, just like a shooting star turns into dust. All the fighting, all the crying, reality caught up with us. We went head.
We have one more thrifted sign here. This one, I did sand off those letters. I did take the white swan in the sample jar and paint the entire face of this with white swan. I just did one coat of white swan, and then I changed my mind as to what color I wanted on the base of this sign. So after I got it all painted white and it had dried, I switched my thought process to the apothecary. I decided that the apothecary was going to look so much better with this stencil that I had in mind. And this stencil, you're going to love it. This was another one that I requested April to do, is a Santa mug. So you can purchase this stencil on the Stencil Smith using the description below. And I got him all stenciled on, sealed him up with Big Top. And now I want to teach you. I sealed this one with Big Top, and then I went out and I did sand those edges again. You're going to take your sander and you're going to go around those edges to break off that Big Top. You want the raw wood. So you have to break down that Big Top to make sure that you're getting the raw wood out there. And so what is going to happen is I'm just going to add a small amount of clear wax to make sure that I don't have any areas where I missed on the Big Top or I sanded. So I'm just using the clear wax as a protector. And then I'm going to go in with the dark wax and I'm going to go over the entire sign. And what that's going to do is it's going to darken those edges by the raw wood. If I would have left the Big Top on without sanding it off, the dark wax could not penetrate into the raw wood. And this sign is so pretty, and that wood just darkened up gorgeous using that dark wax.
We went head first into the waves. We were right there in the eye of the storm. When I look back, I see it clear. I tried but couldn't give you more. You were a great one.
The edges on this one are so pretty. So I'm going to use just a small amount of clear wax on the face of this. It is sealed with Big Top. I did sand it again. Now I'm using the dark wax and I'm going with the dark wax on those edges of the raw wood. And look how this dark wax just deepens that color of the wood. It just makes those edges stand out just a little bit more. It is so beautiful. And this stencil, guys, I can't get enough of this stencil. I absolutely love him. You could do so many different things with this stencil. You could have a stack of Santa mugs if you wanted. And I just think that it's so, so cute. I do take and I wipe off the excess dark wax and just kept the inside real nice and bright. Let me know which one of these stencil signs is your favorite.
She knows how to drive a truck, but she lets me pick her up when we're going dancing. My heart stops beating when my headlights shining on her. She's my country girl. I couldn't tell you what she's doing with me. She's so damn out of my league. She's a little bit crazy on the weekends, dancing in her red dress, and I love the way she looks in my eyes. And I'm feeling like midnight's getting closer, and I just wanna hold her in my arms till the sun comes up. She's a little bit country. Yeah, she's my country girl. She's a little bit country.
Well, what'd you guys think? Did you have a favorite? I really like my stencil signs. I'm getting ready for fall and winter. When you're creative, you have to be a season ahead. And right now, it's about 95 degrees here in Wisconsin. That's pretty rare. We don't usually get that warm. But that's where we're at right now, and I'm creating for Christmas and Halloween. It's just not right. If you need any of the products that you've seen here today, you can visit my website at thepaintedphotographer.com. This is part of a playlist. Make sure that you check out all the creatives and see what they have done with these sample jars of paint. Until next time, happy painting.
Enough of her. She can drive me so wild, just with that sweet smiling. There's nobody else for me. My heart starts racing every time I'm looking at her. She's my country